So I wanted to follow this article up. It's not an article; it was like a paper done, but it basically it shows what this is called replicating reality. Okay, so I just want to read from this because it's all about deep fakes and how these have been used in many ways. And really, what the article is that it's basically saying how it's giving the pros and cons of that it would be best for America to have innovation in deep fakes so that they can detect them. So I just want to read a little bit from here because if you think about this, because the way they lay this out is in, for wartime and all that, but really it's being used on the American people. So just think about this in regards to like the George Floyd would be a good incident because people were manipulated to get enraged and get so enraged that you would go protest and see it as okay to set buildings on fire and terrorize people and destroy, people's cars and their businesses. I mean, all through the summer of 2020. And the media pushed that. They instigated it. All because of the George Floyd incident. Again, George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose. That's what the autopsy proved. What they always leave out is what was going on prior to the police having arrested him. And he was in that drugstore and he was falling all over the counter and everything. That's why the police were called. So effective crisis management involves making, so this goes into how they know how it affects your amygdala and, your brain and all this kind of stuff. So I'm just going to pick up here. Weaponized deepfakes attack and can influence adversary decision making in one or two ways: by instigating a crisis, which is forcing an adversary to engage in a quick, uncertain decision making that benefits the United States, or by altering the information available during a crisis, modifying an adversary's strategic calculus in a way that benefits the United States. Effective crisis management involves making prudent decisions under severe time pressure and uncertainty. However, the very factor that defines crisis adversely impact the quality of decision making. Time pressure, for example, reduces the quality of human judgment. When the human body initiates an adrenaline response to a stressor, such as time pressure, the amygdala shuts down neural pathways within the brain to the prefrontal cortex, the logical part of the brain. Yes, this is an old science, as I always say, going back to why transgenderism should have never been being pushed on youth, because the logical center, the impulse control, is housed in the frontal lobe. Anyway, the ability to make good decisions in the midst of a crisis is therefore both extraordinarily important and extraordinarily difficult. By launching a deepfake attack, the United States can instigate a crisis within the political and military leadership of an adversary, exploiting innate cognitive limitations to induce poor decision making. With an existing crisis, weaponized deepfake attacks can influence adversary decision making by exercising reflexive control, downplaying costs and risks, and exploiting selection bias. Reflexive control is defined as a means of conveying to an opponent specially prepared information to incline him to voluntarily make the predetermined decision desired by the initiator of the action. As an adversary attempts to resolve a crisis, a strategic deepfake attack can make it appear as though there are only a few viable policy options when in reality there are many. In this way, the United States can covertly persuade adversaries to choose a policy option in line with the U.S. interests. Again, just think about this being used on the people, because it has been. A weaponized deepfake attack can also make the costs and risks of a certain course of action appear to be lower than they actually are. If an adversary intercepts an audio deepfake of a time-bound order to evacuate an area, for example, the adversary can be tricked into believing that the area is safe to take, when in reality American troops are waiting to ambush them. In this way, a deep fake attack can be used to convince an adversary to pursue a detrimental course of action. Finally, weaponized deepfakes attacks can influence adversary decision-making by exploiting selection bias. Selection bias is the tendency to accept new information from experts, the mass media, outside critics, only when it supports the preferred alternative. Weaponized deepfakes of experts and mass media figures supporting a policy choice the United States favors could be used to create a false sense of support for that choice and drown out any opposition. In this way, a deep fake attack can convince an adversary that a detrimental policy choice it wants to pursue will in fact lead to a preferred outcome. Then it goes on to talk here about different hybrid warfares, different things they did, like in 2006, the Second Lebanon War was a 34-day hybrid military conflict between Israeli defense and Hezbollah. For the first time in its military history, Israel deployed psychological operations in conjunction with conventional force. Over the course of the conflict, IDF dropped approximately 17 million propaganda leaflets in 47 different leaflet missions over Lebanon. Hezbollah also engaged in information operations using TV networks and radio stations and websites to exploit collateral damage in order to portray Israel's attacks as egregious and inhumane. It then goes on to say here too, it's a Gezi Park protests following widespread Turkey, I believe, yeah. Following widespread unrest during the summer of 2013, then Prime Minister of Turkey coupled police brutality with a relentless disinformation campaign to restore order. While police repeatedly used excessive force to prevent and disperse peaceful demonstrations, the Justice and Development Party purported to reveal the real reasons behind the Gezi protests, including traitors, co-plotters, the CIA, Mossad, MI6, Europeans who envied Turkey's economic success, and the Jewish lobby. AKP even went so far as to form its own social media army, hiring approximately 6,000 social media experts to coordinate a response plan against online activists critical of Turkish officials. This goes on and on. Hearts and minds. Deepfakes are psychologically compelling. They exploit inherent human biases and tendencies to share public attitudes and influence political events. Similar to conventional propaganda, news articles, TV programs, and radio shows, weaponized deepfake attacks can be used to weaken existing domestic support for ruling parties. The United States has used information operations in the past to alter public opinion. Iran, in the summer of 1953, the CIA and the United Kingdom Secret Intelligence Service arranged a coup in Tehran to overthrow Iranian Prime Minister. The Iranian Prime Minister, it was Operation Ajax. It was the product of a months-long disinformation campaign planned and funded by the CIA against the leader who was the most popular figure in modern Iranian history at the time. They did it in Guatemala, CIA, Brazil. The CIA is not supposed to operate on American soil, though. I didn't know that, but they're not. I'm sure they do, though. Weaponizing deepfakes can enhance existing U.S. deepfake detection capabilities. I'll follow this up because there's a couple of other things I think that people should know, and I'm running out of time.